Hi everyone, I'm Anthony O'Flynn, and one of the major themes that I didn't get a chance to get to in my last energy update for the equinox, which is a massive global phenomenon that's occurring, is the awakening of the masculine energy, which it'd be true to be said that that's actually coming because of a crisis in masculinity, and specifically what I'll address in this video is testosterone in men today, or specifically the lack of it. And this trend is not something that's just emerged in the last 6 months or even just this year. It's been going on for a number of years now that I've been observing, and it's actually gaining momentum at a very fast pace. And there is a crisis in masculinity, and this vacuum that's been created through the universe or through the cultural implications is actually now, I feel, coming up from the lowest point around many of the themes and topics around masculinity, where men are now starting to particularly become at least more vocal on the internet and start to discuss some of these problems, which is a relatively new phenomenon. And it's not something that was definitely occurring 10 years ago, 15 years ago, pretty much by many people at all, and definitely not in the scope and the manner and the directness and the candor and the sincerity that's starting to unfold. And it's literally increasing exponentially. So my theme for this video is basically around the sexual energy itself, which is obviously relevant for both men and women. But it's not actually a theme that is often addressed in much of what's referred to in very general terms as the manosphere. And I'm not here to criticize anyone or the topics that I choose to be focused on, but there is a considerable focus on things around relating to women, career and making money in terms of making you a more attractive partner, success, and a lot of the themes that in some ways are perhaps more of a concern for younger men in their 20s, perhaps early 30s. And this is unfolding and taking shape literally day by day. But it's often the relationship to the sexual energy itself that's overlooked. And that also is changing. And my experience as a practitioner of Tantra and Tantric sexuality for, 23, 24 years now, has seen that this conversation is starting to grow, and even new terms have become, are now used, which were not used when I started to practice Tantra in the 90s, late 90s. So one term that's become popular is no FAP, which is a reference to non-ejaculatory sex or non-ejaculating, and how to develop masculinity and masculine presence and masculine force through this practice. Now, what is really this a response to is the drastic decline in testosterone levels that men have today from all around the world. This is not specific to the West or to here in Australia or to any specific country. There has been a decline in testosterone in men now. It's been going on for some time, and it's become quite extreme. Some studies show that there's been a decline of testosterone of 20% in men, some slightly more. And it's really something that we're only really just culturally starting to become aware of, and particularly the effects of this decline in testosterone, that men today are very compliant, complicit, are feminized, are lacking a masculine force as protector. And quite frankly, if there was more testosterone in men today, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in on a global scale in regards to the political, social, economic agenda, because men would have stood up for themselves, for their families, for their community, and for their country, which of course is not happening with today's feminization of men, which is part of it is social engineering, and part of it is a direct effect because of the decline in testosterone. To give you an idea of how extreme it is, is that the average 22-year-old man today has an average testosterone level roughly equal to that of a 67-year-old man in the year 2000. And that should shock anybody as to when people are asking the question, what has happened to men? Well, it's a very general, open-ended question, but the effects of this decline in testosterone can be seen everywhere. It's not just in men's attitudes, their behaviors, their outlook, and so on. It's actually even in their features, particularly their facial features, and it can be seen actually when you start to understand this, that there is this overall. I mean, people would refer to it as the beta-tization of men. I don't really like that term, but one question that's really been asked over the last few years with everything we've seen around the world is, where are the alpha males? And it's something that brings a lot of shame to men, which is not healthy. But what would be a better attitude is more introspection and more an understanding of how to navigate the changing conditions we live in from an environmental point of view, the technology point of view, many lifestyle and well-being issues and so on, and how to address this. So one way that obviously this can be enhanced is through the control of sexual energy itself, through tantric practices and the use of tantric sexuality. But there's more to it than that, and this is something that I actually go into in detail in the workshops that I run. And we've actually got one coming up in October this month in Brisbane. And the focus here is basically amplifying the sexual energy by amplifying your testosterone and having this stronger masculine presence and this stronger masculine energy, which in tandem with various yogic exercises, with lifestyle changes, with changes in diet, with a number of awareness around some of the issues in regard to the causality of the drop in testosterone. So the drop in testosterone is the effect, what's causing that. And if we don't understand the causes, then we're not going to be able to change the effects. And it should be known that there's one study that is quite revealing that sex without ejaculation for a week or more, or no sex and no ejaculation, will increase testosterone levels by up to 400%, which is pretty staggering. So there's more literature and more documents and more studies starting to come out on this topic. But a 400% increase in just 1 week is pretty staggering. And that is really the cornerstone of the tantric practice, is non-ejaculatory sex, or at least choosing to ejaculate, not it being a reflex response. Ultimately, the idea of perfecting the control of the sexual energy is the goal, and to have this ability to control the sexual energy, to amplify the sexual energy, to cultivate the sexual energy, and by that also amplifying the testosterone in the process. So what I want to do to support this whole shift in consciousness, and there'll be many more things that I'll be offering in this theme over the coming years actually, but at least for this workshop, is to support one single man coming to the workshop. We want to even up the numbers between the men and women, and we need one more single man for a discounted price. So if you're interested in that, then contact me as soon as possible. It's only for one person. If you want to come as a couple to the workshop, you're welcome to. We only have a few couple places left for that as well. I think maybe one or two. So check out the link that I'll put in the comments for that. But understand that we are, as men, in many ways, diminished in our ability to live our best life as a man, as having this masculine energy. If we are compromising our testosterone levels, there's a direct correlation between the two. It can't be ignored and it can't be sidestepped. And much of the very disappointing responses we've seen to the various government overreach in the last few years has been a direct effect because of this falling testosterone levels. I'm not suggesting anyone go out and do anything illegal or anything like that, but what I'm saying is that you cannot expect a man to have this protector energy and this strong, confident, assertive leadership if they're not having the backing of the testosterone itself. It's that important. And if you see many of the things, when you actually decipher this and look at it from the level of causality, you'll see much of this has been generated and socially engineered. But that doesn't mean that it can't be countered. But you need the right information, you need the right knowledge, you need the right awareness around these topics. And as I said, this understanding of the sexual energy and the significance of how to cultivate that and actually amplify it during lovemaking, it's not really in the conversation that I see today. It hasn't gone to that depth yet. It hasn't gone to that level of understanding of causality and the essence of soul development in a masculine body, and the essence of also some of the more spiritual dimension of things. I mean, there's just a focus on like making bank and having a big following on social media, and this is like a reflection of these things that could be considered to be more superficial and less having less impact on yourself, on your immediate environment, and on your community. So there's a lot more to speak about on this topic, and I'll make more videos addressing this. But non-ejaculatory sex is not the end of sex. It's actually the beginning of a more fulfilling, rich, embodied path to a deeper awakening and cultivating of the sexual energy and a deeper masculinity that is sustained through the decades of life. I mean, when we talk about testosterone, we often only think about it when we think of, young men in their prime, when, whether it's in a sporting capacity or career capacity or, some sort of peak in life. And sure, it does peak for men when they're younger, but we want to sustain it across a lifetime, so we are able to have a higher testosterone level in our wisdom years, so we have more to offer in a different way and in a more embodied way. So plenty more to talk about on that topic, but if this is you, then let me know. We have space for one more single man for this workshop, and we do run the workshop. Usually it's twice a year, but stay tuned for more announcements around this, and look into this topic if it's new to you, because there are many lifestyle things, there are many natural behaviors that we're doing that are actually not natural at all, and many chemicals taking into the body and that are really diminishing our testosterone levels. And at the level of causality, this is something to deeply consider. So thanks for watching. We live in epic times.